SoFi and stock market investors, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. In today's episode, I want to talk about the big dog institutional buyers, Vanguard and BlackRock, who continue to increase their stake in SoFi stock. I also want to talk about some fundamentals of the stock, including the RSI and where our levels at right now. And what am I doing with my shares? SoFi, if you take a look at your screen right now, is having another shitty day. It's been a bad few months in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood there for SoFi investors. We take a look at the last 6 months, from peak to trough. The market topped out in November, mid-November, and it's been a nightmare since, down over 41%. But on the flip side, we are getting some good news out of these big dog investors. Vanguard, BlackRock, and D.E. Shaw continue to buy shares of SoFi, right? Vanguard now currently owns 111 million shares of SoFi, closing in on $3 billion. We currently have 4 investors now with over $1 billion invested in SoFi stock. That include Vanguard, BlackRock, JP Morgan, and D.E. Shaw. We also see some significant buys. Norges Bank just opened up a position in SoFi. They own around $322 million worth, 12 million shares in the new buy there. Bank of America also continues to increase their lot of SoFi shares by 4%. Morgan Stanley just added a ton of shares, increasing their stake by over 33.5%, 13.3 million shares. I like this ownership bar graph right here. If we take a look on HedgeFollow, Vanguard up and to the right. Same thing with BlackRock. JP Morgan bought, they sold a little bit here in the most recent quarter. It looks like 1/30/2026. They did take some of their shares off the table. D.E. Shaw has been increasing their lot of shares as well. State Street Corporation, they've been increasing as well. Godey Capital. So all of the biggest shareholders of SoFi, out of all these, only 2 are selling shares. And UBS Group trimmed a very small part of their position, less than 1%, right? But we've seen, with Vanguard Group, 3.6% doesn't seem like a lot, but when you take a look at all the shares they already own, it's a significant amount of shares that they added to their position. And Morgan Stanley, with this big jump, 33.59%. I love seeing those numbers out of these huge institutions, right? And if we take a look at the top shareholders, again, here are some other ones, including BMO Group adding 39%. Marshall Wace LLP increased their position by 373%. And we do have some trimming here. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. JP Morgan has been the biggest cut so far out of all these, what are these top 20 shareholders right now? But Vanguard and BlackRock, 2 of the biggest stock owners in the world, continue to increase their position. So I'm excited about that as well. And Morgan Stanley with the big ads, Citadel, another really big company. And we get to see their total ownership here on the left-hand side and the percent of their portfolio. Not really huge positions in a lot of these gigantic portfolios, but that means they're still increasing. There's still room for them to increase. The top 25 shareholders closing in on 40% of the total company, right? And as these big conglomerates come in and gobble up these shares, the stock price will start to stabilize. If we look at the RSI of this company, we are experiencing extreme oversold positions in SoFi stock. Under 30 means extremely oversold. So a turnaround could be in play in the near future. But if the market continues to slide, this stock could go to $15 per share, guys. These RSIs under 30 looks at a level where I want to start to add, right? Here are the key resistance zones. 21.35, 26.77, and 29.51. We blew past all of those on the downside, right? So we were trading in the $18 range today, man. It's not a good look, right? We went all the way down to 18.68. If you gobbled up some of those shares, kudos to you. I did buy 25 more shares today under 19 bucks per share. I want to round out my position in the big dog account around 6,000 shares. That's kind of where I'm looking at right now. But yeah, the short interest is pretty stable. It's in that 9 to 10% range. It kind of bounces around there. I don't know if it's a great idea for people to be shorting the stock when it's been cut down considerably from where it was at just a few months back in November. You know, the stock's already down 42%. I don't know how much more it can slide, but even other stocks like Hood are getting just obliterated, right, over the last 6 months. Hood is actually entering a buy zone for me as well. From peak to trough, they're down almost 50%. So these stocks are starting to look more and more attractive by the day. I think if Robinhood goes under $70 per share, I'm going to step in and buy 100 shares of the stock. I might sell some cash secured puts as well. Same thing with SoFi. Cash secured puts over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months in that $15 to $17 range makes some sense for me. But the big dogs keep on buying. Here are some of the largest trades. Citadel, big time activity, 234%, right? They own 11 million shares. BlackRock, these are some of the biggest movers from their overall position, right? So up and to the right, most of these are just continuing to add and add and add. Big jump there for Citadel. So I know in the short term it's pretty shitty, guys, but hold tight. I do think the stock is going to have a turnaround sooner rather than later. You could sell some covered calls in that $20, $21, $22 range. And if it hits those prices, you could roll them and kick them down the road to 24 and 25 later on in the year. Here are some of the bigger sells. Jane Street Group, Renaissance Technology, Millennium Management, and Tudor Investments. You got to look at the stars as well. The fund rating, all the people that are buying really good companies, right? Some of the largest shareholders, all 5-star fund ratings. I love that. And Vanguard, BlackRock, D.E. Shaw, State Street, Goody, UBS, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley. When the big banks start to come in and buy a bank's stock, I think that's a good thing moving forward, guys. I just want to give you an overall update of where I'm at. All right, SoFi investors. So what am I doing with my shares? I am going to add slowly, maybe 20 to 50 shares per week, depending on the overall market. But we did have some breaking news. The Supreme Court strikes down most of Trump's tariffs in a major blow to the president. I think this is a good thing moving forward for businesses, right? And for prices for consumers. Tariffs, I don't give a shit if you like Trump or you don't like Trump. The overall economics of tariffs are not a good thing for consumers. Tariffs cause prices to go up. You got to look at it from an objective sense. And that's a really good thing for the stock market, in my opinion, because if prices start to regulate and not go up and even come down a little bit in things like beef and soy, products like that, then that's going to give Americans a little more discretionary income to potentially put into the stock market, right? So I do think the Supreme Court shutting down these tariffs is a good thing moving forward. So adding shares to some of your favorite companies that have gotten destroyed, DraftKings, Chewy, Palantir, Microsoft, SoFi, they're the stocks I'm kind of looking at right now, guys. I'm going to break down a video of the stocks I'm buying later on this weekend. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll catch you on the next video.